New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
New Thought Media Network is excited to present Divine Science Everywhere, Fridays at 2 p.m. Mountain Time and 4 p.m. Eastern. Come explore a modern experience of divine science with Reverend Joy Fletcher, Reverend Jeff Radcliff, and Bishop Durrell Watkins. Join us as we open our eyes to divine science everywhere we look. Fridays on New Thought Media Network.
Welcome to another episode of Divine Science Everywhere. I'm Reverend Joy Fletcher, also known as Joyful, and some of the ways that I express divine science and my ministry in life is I'm a published author, speaker, hospice bereavement coordinator, and grief support specialist. So with us today, I'd like to introduce one of my co-hosts, Reverend Jeff Radcliff.
Hey y'all, and this is Lily Rose. This is her debut appearance on Divine Science Everywhere. She's an old pro when it comes to the work that I do with New Thought Media Network's Friday Fireside Chat with Reverend Michael Mangus. That's later on this evening. You'll also find me on Facebook, Giati Ministries, and it's Giati, because as a true religious scientist, I have to tell you, God is all there is. That's what we teach. And so you'll find me there. Also, one of our sponsors, one of New Thought Media Network sponsors, CSL Midtown in Atlanta, Georgia. I will be speaking for them, delivering their the end of the year message on December 28th. And it's a Zoom thing. It's going to be a virtual thing. So I invite all of you to tune in for that. And we are looking forward to today's episode because I find my new friend, Reverend Kathy, to be fascinating. And I'm looking forward to learning a little more about her. And here's Reverend Durrell Watkins, Bishop Extraordinaire.
I am Bishop Durrell Watkins, the Senior Minister of the Sunshine Cathedral, sunshinecathedral.org.
the president of Divine Science Federation, divinesciencefederation.org, an auxiliary bishop of the Global Justice Institute, a life member of the International New Thought Alliance, an honorary member of the affiliated New Thought Network, the dean of the Samaritan Institute, a religious education and divine science ministerial training ministry. I am a certified Reiki master and initiate in Kriya Yoga. I'm a graduate of both Union Theological Seminary in the city of New York and the Episcopal Divinity School in Cambridge, Massachusetts, where I earned my doctorate. I studied metaphysics at religious science churches, the College of Divine Metaphysics, and the United Divine Science Seminary. And this is, of all the things I do, this is one of my favorite. I look forward to Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern every week. I do want you to know that if you'll go to Divine Science, divinesciencefederation.org, you can see something about if you'll go to events, divinesciencefederation.org/events, you'll see this cruise we're having in November. There's a few slots open if you'd like to go. We're going to have some training, some prayers, new thought stuff we got to do. But we're also going to have a lot of good food and good bar times, some slot machines if you're into that, some fun shore excursions in the Bahamas. And this is in November. If you live in a cold place, this is so great. And the starting price for an inside cabin is just $299. Of course, you can upgrade and get better and better and better. But this is affordable. There's still a couple of slots open, and you'll have a good time. So I want you to know about that. I'm glad you are with us today. I hope you will like and share today's episode, and really every week's episode. So now I would like to turn it all back over to Reverend Joy, who gives us every week an amazing centering moment.
Thank you. Thank you. So first, to begin, I want to share this timeless truth from Fanny B. James, an early divine scientist, and this is from her book, Truth and Health. In his presence is the name of it. All is light, all is knowledge, all is strength, all is love, all is life, all is joy, all is health, all is abundance, all is freedom, all is peace, all is good. God is the only presence, God is the only power, the fullness that filleth all. Now, divine science focuses on omnipresence, the all, the all. So what a radical simplicity this statement holds. It doesn't say some things that are light or some moment of love, but rather it is all filled with the divine. This affirmation invites us to see the wholeness behind appearances, the sacred pattern within nature, within community, and within our own being. Now today, as our guest speaks of sacred ecology and flourishing leadership, she echoes this truth, that the presence of God is not abstract, but alive in the very ground beneath our feet, in the trees that sustain our breath, and in the systems of community we co-create. We as humans often approach life with fragmentation, seeing just parts or problems or conflicts. But this affirmation reminds us, in God's presence, which we all dwell in, always, all is wholeness, all is fullness, and this is the grounding as well for sacred ecology, to live as if creation is infused with spirit, because it is. And so now, as we move into autumn, we notice that nature itself models this truth of transformation. In some traditions, fall is considered the true beginning of the new year, a season where endings and beginnings meet. The falling leaves invites us to release with grace. Their letting go is not loss, but the clearing away for space to make room for renewal. The earth shows us that even as beauty fades from the branches, new life is already being nourished in the soil below. Each leaf can be our teacher, reminding us that we all have our seasons of letting go, and they are woven into the larger pattern of spirit's wholeness, and that what falls away is never wasted. It becomes the compost for our next beginning. So let's take a few moments and consider. During any sacred season, as well as Advent that is approaching, when the world may feel noisy with consumerism or heavy with worry, we're invited to pause and return to this presence. So we can ask ourselves, where can I let light reveal itself today? How might I choose love in a simple, ordinary action? Can I remember peace is not created by outer conditions, but flows from the presence that fills all things? This awareness in itself is an act of ecology, of rebalancing how we live and move in the world. So as we take some gentle breaths, let us consider all is light. All is love. All is life. With each breath, allow these qualities to root in your heart. As you inhale, imagine drawing in the crisp, fresh air of autumn. Take a moment to really enjoy and savor that. And as you exhale, picture golden leaves gently falling from a tree. And with those leaves, release with ease what is no longer needed in your life, what no longer serves your purpose. Feel yourself in harmony with this rhythm of nature. Release and renewal, letting go and beginning again. Each falling leaf reminds us that transformation is not an ending, but part of the fullness of Spirit's eternal cycle. Now see those leaves becoming nourishment for the soil, returning as life-giving energy. And in the same way, what we release makes space for new growth, fresh perspectives, and deeper peace. Rest here a moment. So, as we gently bring our attention to this time and space, let us affirm together, in omnipresence, I am whole. The world is whole, and creation flourishes in the fullness of spirit. And so it is. Well, Bishop Durrell, are
Very
you going to
nice.
serve up a sandwich here for us?
Yeah. I've stacked it differently today. Usually I start in with divine science and put other new thought in the middle. Sometimes just one piece of meat. Sometimes I've got cheese and condiments. But I've stacked a little different, but still a lot of divine science at the bottom. That was so, I wasn't ready to let go yet of that meditation. It was very meaningful, very meaningful. I just want to remember, that it was Melinda Kramer who said, "Is there a power in this vast universe that can heal me?" And that question, that honest, open question, led to her own miraculous healing and to her ability then to teach others how to live in the power of wholeness. And you talked so much about light in the beginning of that. And of course, I remember Nona Brooks praying for a year, "Give me light, give me light." And she had a miraculous experience of light that changed her life and then began a life-changing ministry that we're still part of. So that was very meaningful to me today, that meditation. Now, other people, New Thought luminaries, other people in this great tradition of New Thought, nothing new about it. We see it in ancient scriptures, the Hindu scriptures, the Christian scriptures, the Jewish scriptures, the Muslim scriptures, the Buddhist scriptures. We see it in ancient Greek philosophy. We see it in contemporary positive psychology and transpersonal psychology and quantum mechanics. Truth is truth. You call it different things, you discover it in different ways, but truth is truth, generation after generation, all over the world. So our brand of it is called New Thought. I mean, it's called Divine Science, but some people call it Unity, and some people call it Science of Mind, and some people call it Truth, and some people call it Divine Metaphysics, and some people call it positive thinking, and whatever. Call it what you want to call it. Call the divine what you want to call it. But truth is truth. And it's not limited by names or traditions or creeds or traditions. The first person I want to talk about or tell you about is Ewell Stanley, U.S. Anderson. Ewell Stanley Anderson, he was better known as U.S. Anderson, which is funny because that amounts to USA. He was born in 1917. He died, or made his transition, as we say, in 1986. He was a self-help and inspirational writer. He believed that the physical world is derived from the mental. Wow, that does not make him unique at all. He believed that a sustained mental image, backed by faith, would become real in the realm of experience. His writings include 3 Magic Words and The Magic in Your Mind. I particularly like that second one, The Magic in Your Mind. Anderson taught, quote, "Everything which you can conceive and accept is yours. Entertain no doubt, refuse to accept worry or hurry or fear. That which knows and does everything is inside you and hearkens to the slightest whisper," end quote. He was influenced by the writings of Mary Baker Eddy, Emanuel Swedenborg, and Edgar Cayce. Next person I want you to know about is Joseph Sieber. He was born in 1972. He left our planet in 1938. He was an American New Thought writer who often wrote as anonymous. His first book, The Impersonal Life, was published in 1914. In his writing, Benner expresses the New Thought concept that we are all one with God, and that God endows each of us with the power to create our experiences and reality by means of sustained, believed thoughts. Now, the next 3 people I want to share with you are all divine scientists. We always include divine scientists, sometimes through the beginning and end. This time they're all in the end, but they make up the majority. The first one is Alice R. Ritchie. R-I-T-C-H-I-E. Alice R. Ritchie, born in 1876. She left our world in 1960, 6 years before I was born. She was an early graduate of the Colorado College of Divine Science, later known as Brooks Divinity School, of which Reverend Joy is an alum. Ritchie served on the college board for 7 years. She received a Doctorate of Divine Science degree in 1919, and in 1921 became the minister of her own church in Chicago. Next person I want you to know about is Anna L. Palmer, born in 1858, transitioned in 1944. We actually don't know a lot about Anna, and yet her essays, her meditations, they pop up here and there. If you ever see Divine Science Lessons, Daily Divine Lessons, it's a book. A lot of her writings are in there. She was ordained by Nona Brooks, one of the early leaders of Divine Science. She was ordained by Brooks in 1916. Palmer became president of the Colorado College of Divine Science and even editor of Divine Science Monthly. And finally, and this one is very near and dear to my heart, Ann Kunath. Because she is sort of the beginning of the tradition that brought me into the divine science philosophy. Ann Kunath was born in 1932, and she left us on this plane in 2021. She was mentored by famous New Thought teacher Catherine Ponder. And in 1998, Ann Kunath founded the United Divine Science Ministry School. She also led a church in San Antonio, Texas. She named her ministry United Divine Science to unite the teachings of the various founders, Kramer and the Brooks sisters. Kramer came first. The Brooks sisters, shortly after, they met each other at some point, learned that they were teaching the exact same thing. Kramer was already calling it divine science. The Brooks sisters, led by Nona, said, "Hey, we're teaching the same thing. Can we call it divine science?" Kramer said, "Why not?" And Kramer ordained the Brooks sisters. And when Kramer died in 1906, the Brooks sisters became the de facto leaders of the movement. The Brooks branch of divine science had become dominant by the mid to late 20th century. And so Kunath named her ministry United Divine Science to unite the teachings of the various founders, both Kramer and the Brooks sisters. The Brooks branch of divine science had become dominant, and Anne wanted to renew awareness and interest in the original founder, Melinda Kramer. United Divine Science eventually joined the Divine Science Federation, and the ministry school would later be led by the Reverend Dr. Christopher Bazemore, and still is. Divine Science was founded by women, and the work to renew interest in its original founder was spearheaded by a woman, Ann Kunath. I'm very proud of that. I'm very pleased about that. And I'm happy to share this story and all these stories with you today. Before we meet our amazing guest today, I just want to remind you that this is Divine Science Everywhere, and we are on the New Thought Media Network.
Okay, welcome back. I'm Reverend Jeff, and I am very pleased to introduce you to our new friend, Reverend Kathy Harwood Long. She's an ordained unity minister. She's fascinating. She serves as a mentor and emissary for sacred ecology and the New Thought story of evolutionary change, inviting systemic change in the lives of individuals and spiritual communities. She's a well-known presenter. She has gone all over the United States and Canada, speaking at Unity Worldwide Ministries, churches, conventions, conferences, and she has a new seminar, coming up in a couple of weeks. It sounds fantastic. Eco Advent to Christmas and beyond. And in this, as I was reading on her website, participants will learn to create a grounding, calming, sustainable reality while journeying through the commercialism of the holidays. And it's fitting that we're doing this this early because Christmas comes earlier every year. So this looks like it's going to be a good one. In her Flourishing Ecological Leadership webinar, participants explore and adapt ideas for an interactive ministry that fuels personal ownership and engagement in sacred theology values and explores healing principles grounded in the elements of the natural world. And finally, a learn shop that she's calling A Tree Hugger's Guide to Prosperity, which explores spiritual principles for thriving as taught in the natural world. So that sounds really cool. So please welcome us, or join us and welcome, I should say, Reverend Kathy Harwood Long. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you. And appreciate being here with all of you and also learning so much just by joining you in this amazing radio program. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming. You've been involved in Unity for 40 years. How did you find Unity? How did you find New Thought in general back in the day?
I love sharing that story. And you notice my last name is Long.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to do my best to give you the really short version.
Take your time.
In essence, my husband, Matthew Long, also Unity minister, his grandmother, Zella Long, in I believe it was 1919, 1920, was in Washington, D.C. She was helping because of the pandemic, the influenza pandemic that was happening at that time, and she became ill. She contracted the flu. And a lot of people were dying, right? And so she had heard a woman speak. I believe it was on the radio. My husband and I differ on this, but we've been together almost 50 years, so we get to do that. We get to differ on things. And anyway, she called up this woman, this healer, this naturopathic doctor that happened to be Dr. Emily Cady. And so if you are familiar with those early leaders, including out of divine science, obviously Christian Science, unity, religious science, we know that there were these many individuals that were absolutely in the healing field of consciousness, right? And so Gran, as I came to know her, she many years later invited me to go to church with her. Happened to be Unity Church of Portland, where I will speak. Their 100th anniversary is coming up this October. And so that's how I arrived in a Unity ministry. I don't think I knew the words New Thought from Beans. And I don't think that I really even caught on about this kind of umbrella that was created, I think, maybe out of Southern Methodist University Press, right? And that book, Spirits in Rebellion. That's where I first encountered this whole notion of new thought, that here we all are, many streams, all going in the same direction. Yeah.
So, you were a pulpit minister for a while? Is that correct?
Yes, I was licensed in 1988 and ordained in 1989 and pioneered a ministry. So that was many years in the making, and then moved here to Michigan, where I live now. Worked in the ministries here, and also worked for a very unique school out here when our children were younger. Upland Hills School. Actually, that school birthed the Ecological Awareness Center, which was the first of its kind here in Michigan, put in the first wind turbine in the 70s in the state of Michigan. All of this is, of course, on the heels of the oil embargo and the book Silent Spring, which had a huge impact in waking people up. So I seem to have moved all the way out here to do that and not lead a center ministry. However, when I retired from the school, I did serve again in a Unity ministry until, the subconscious, what we talk about as consciousness. And that's a psychological term, but sometimes we just have to use these terms to try to understand how we are inspired. And often the subconscious comes through my dream time and that spiritual insight. And so I, much to my surprise, had another guidance to release center ministry. And now I am in the process of birthing my launching really a dedicated work that I've been doing all along, sacred ecology, at this this time of newness for us, the emergence principle that we talk about in science, right?
How does sacred ecology differ from what we came up hearing? You know, in the 60s and the 70s, ecology was the buzzword, and
Yep.
everyone was talking about it.
Yep.
And somewhere along the line, we made some progress when it comes to environmentalism, and then just kind of sort of dropped the ball along the way. But you seem to have picked this up. So tell us about sacred ecology and how that ties in with our spirituality.
Okay. So, well, I want to bring two things to our attention. One, let's explore what you've just asked. Okay. So ecology is the study of how everything works. It's a science term. Science classes in junior high and high school, you were introduced to it like I was. Sacred is just really inviting us to see that how everything works together is sacred to us. And that it not only is sacred to us in a spiritual realization, it's sacred to us because we humans count on understanding that we are interdependent, that we are interrelated, and that when we want to know how to move forward right now in complex challenges, we know that the solution is spiritual. And that spirituality is expressing through all. We used the word omnipresence earlier, but we also know that those early New Thought leaders started bringing out omniscience, right? Mm-hmm. That knowing is somehow design, this intelligent design, that is another term that's being used by other groups today. It's working in all and through all. So that's the one answer. But now I want to share something that I really want to hold up in everybody's midst, because this movement of caring for creation, environmental movement, it has not gone away. It perhaps has been not as accessible to us through news sources, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm reading to you from a book called Engaging Emergence, written by Peggy Holman, Turning Upheaval into Opportunity. And she refers to Paul Hawkins' work, a book that came out some time ago called Blessed Unrest, how the largest movement in the world came into being and why no one saw it coming. And he says that this is a time of convergence of environmental, indigenous, and social justice movements. The largest social movement in history is happening right now. And this convergence of all of this that we've held up, social justice, environmental justice, being able to look into our relationships, nonviolence, right? All of this is converging. Thousands and thousands of organizations around the world are active today. Okay. So it hasn't gone anywhere, Jeff. It's right here.
I apologize. We've got some thunder in the area, and Lily gets off on thunder. What do you make of what's happening politically right now, where we're seeing sustainable energy sourcing being clawed back? I heard on NPR just yesterday, President Trump had said in England, Lily, please, that said in England that like solar power was a disaster, that wind power, sustainable wind power is a disaster. What do you make of this reversal in public policy toward sustainable energy sourcing?
Well, I'm a person to work from the grassroots up. So if we think that our political leaders are going to make these changes happen, we're missing the mark. Mm-hmm. And so we have to keep remembering that all change comes from the grassroots up. Right. And not only that you can have lots of opinions in times of revolutionary change, lots of opinions. And it's okay, have your opinion, but let's not be swayed by opinions. That's appearances. What we want to look out there with the eyes of spirit is to see where these nuances of newness. So in New Thought, we really make a lot of emphasis on newness comes through laying hold of a divine idea, that you lay hold of divinity as really like an idea, something that's revolutionary that changes how we think. And it's those ideas that we want to look for that are landing, that are manifesting. For instance, what we're doing right now. You know, we're doing what those early leaders, those speakers, Nona Brooks, those different speakers were doing. We're getting out there and we're having discussions and we're sharing ideas and we're able to be at the evolutionary edge of conscious understanding right now. So we're not just in our little silos, our little they could be large. My church, my denomination, my political view, it's all gone viral. It's all gone viral. And then we have science to help us understand and maybe have a perspective about what we're doing. So the studies of mycelium right now, do you know that word? There's a lot of studies about sentience in not just humans, but sentience in creatures and how systems like underground of trees, all this mycelium that's coming up that supports trees. These are like global networks. They're everywhere. Antarctica, they're all over. And they seem to be like the neural network. And we are functioning more and more like this, even though it's so difficult because professionals will hold up one spiritual or one political opinion and say this is right and this is wrong. So what we do right here today, I think, is essential. I think this is how we're bringing out ideas, new ideas, right?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Durrell?
You know, in South America, the Earth Mother, the Mother Goddess figure, in some cultures like Bolivia, is called Pachamama.
Yes.
Yes, and when I went in graduate school, I went to Bolivia and Cuba doing some research, and I have this on my altar in my office. I have this this Pachamama figure. It's very important to me.
Yes.
And of course, in other traditions, more sort of Greek, there's the Gaia, image. So this idea that ecology is sacred. We always say, oh, we're one with everyone, we're one with the divine, we're one with each other. I think a lot of times we forget that we're really one with everything. We live in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual laws, and we're spiritual beings, and all of this. But we forget about, the grass and the trees and the muskrat and whatever. How can we? Because a lot of times New Thought, it started sort of focused on a lot of healing. Decades later, it seemed to be focused a lot on financial healing, prosperity. How are we fixed to address ecological healing?
Yeah. This is a really good question, because this is what I'm saying that I'm willing to just really step into and out there with right now. I feel that we are poised. We are poised to broaden the teachings that inspired us, the teachings that healed us, the teachings that helped us understand to be poor is a sin, right? So for us, we're ready, we're poised. But if we continue to just be human-centric or even just earth-centric, then we are missing something that wants to come through that's far greater. And when I say that, I think about the more recent visionaries, Teilhard de Chardin, Thomas Berry, Matthew Fox, Joanna Macy, who just made her transition. They are all saying to us right now, we must move from the old story. And the old story is found in how we were all conditioned, and it comes out of Genesis, and that the humans are to have dominion over. And so dominion over has led to the destruction of where we're at now. Everything is seen as a commodity. It's not sacred. It's what can it do for the human? Okay, so this has led to this collapse almost. It served its purpose. really. The misunderstanding or the immature understanding has served its purpose. Now we must move through a time where Joanna Macy says the time of the great unraveling, where systems are collapsing, including our spiritual understandings, if we're not at the evolutionary edge in our consciousness. And all of the great teachers, Jesus, all the great teachers said, I have not come here to be served, but to serve. So we have to move off this human-centric focus that we're using and holding up. That's a voice, one voice in New Thought. It's very much about the mind. It's very much about thought. And yet a change in consciousness, you know, what is consciousness? It's the mind. Ancient language from the Old Testament. Mind comes from a root word of heart. Now we're into today's language, coherence, the science and understanding of what coherence is, and being able to move from the heart and heart sync. And a change of heart is a change of action.
Awesome.
You know, we learn and we teach in New Thought that we are to face the facts which change while knowing the truth. How does that apply, do you think, to ecological issues?
I think that facts are important for us to look at. So there's a woman, I don't recall her name right now. She talks about the 80-10-10 plan. Basically, she says we need to spend about 10% of our time looking out there at the news and seeing, yes, in fact, we're in a mass extinction on the planet right now. Okay, yes, humans are contributing to climate warming. We cannot claim all the responsibility for it, but we're sure contributing, okay? Then 10% of our time ought to be devoted to how we can address the harm that is occurring, all right? Then 80% of our time is really moving into building the world that we long for, that we hope for, which is what we're doing right now. We four right here. That's what we're doing. So I apply that now. So you may not think about 24 hours in a day, but I've been telling people, take 1 hour. You just think 1 hour, 10% of 1 hour, right? 6 minutes. Is that right? Did I do my math right? It's not a lot.
Yeah.
And so then you spend 6 minutes doing the news. Dang, it's hard. A lot of harm. 6 minutes asking, how do I address this harm? Okay. I can see that they're doing tree planting down there. All right. I'm signing up for it. Or I'm going to use my electric bill to decide how much I invest in replanting trees. Or I'm going to go serve, at the polls. So we put 6 more minutes into taking an action. Doesn't have to be long. Then 80% of that 60 minutes really creating the world that we long for. And I will say that one of the things that I've noticed in myself that has been waning is imagination. And, maybe it's my age. I don't think so. I believe that imagination is something that's so precious to us. And of course, our children is being robbed right now because they're having devices that have all this imagination, all this high tech animation, everything else is done for them. They don't have to imagine. So we are really called upon to create time, I believe, to imagine. What is it my heart longs for?
That's good.
Can I imagine that we can come together and that we can clean waterways? Yes, I can.
Yeah.
And I imagine that something can shift the tide and that we will reduce war. Yes, I can imagine that because it's happened before.
Right. Yeah. Of course, another word for imagination is prayer. I mean, once we see it, that's what we're calling for, So,
Yeah.
And I have one more. I always have three little questions, and then it's off to Joy to do the heavy lifting. But Alethea Brooks, there was Nona Brooks. She was the matriarch of the Brooks sisters, and then Fannie James Brooks. She was sort of the systematic theologian, the academic of the Brooks sisters. Although Nona was a teacher. But then Althea Brooks, we really don't know much about her, other than she was married to Charles Fillmore's business partner before he and Myrtle started Silent Unity. So I want you to, so Althea, she's part of the thing. She's all in on this beginning of Divine Science stuff.
Yeah.
She's also at the beginning of the Fillmore's spiritual work. So I want you to imagine Althea and her husband and the Fillmores having dinner one night, and this topic comes up. What do you think comes out of that? What do you think these four ancestors, these four New Thought ancestors, what do you think they have to say in this conversation?
Okay. This is a great little challenge you're just tossing in here right at the end. Well, what comes to my mind right off is omniscience again, that there would be this conversation about the intelligence that is in all creation. And that just lines right up with Thomas Berry. Thomas Berry thought of himself as a geologian, and he said that every part of creation, every species is like a voice to help us right now. So when those voices go away, we're missing an intelligence that could help us. Myrtle Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, she understood that intelligence seems to show up in like different levels. And so that through prayer and meditation, we are literally accelerating the equipment here. And I think they all had this kind of sense that prayer was the most accelerated mind action known. So prayer is poo-pooed. Well, prayer's not doing anything. Prayer changes the prayer. So I believe they would have said prayer and meditation are absolutely necessary for the spiritual solution and the ideas to become obvious to the spiritual eye, and then shaped and formed with our thoughts, obviously designed, etc.
Thank you. Well, your upcoming webinar,
Yes.
Advent to Christmas and Beyond, sounds inspiring. So you'd like to tell us about that?
Thank you for that. And I just finished the first one, so you have the date probably on your little flyer. I didn't look that up.
It was Wednesday.
It's a Wednesday, I believe, October
December 8th, I think. Or no, I'm sorry,
October 8th. And I think it's 7 p.m. Eastern time. So years ago, I began to, I was invited to a large gathering out at Gonzaga University, Spokane, Washington. And leaders, tribal leaders, Catholic bishops, a whole bunch of us were invited, and we were asked two questions. One, could we work together? Could we even work together? And secondly, would we work together on behalf of creation? And there was a bishop, a Catholic bishop there, Skillstad, and he said that years ago, the earth was taken out of worship. It was taken out of music. It was taken out of liturgy. It was just taken out. And he believed that we needed to bring it back in, because what we hold in our services, our Sunday services, whether you call them, as Eric Butterworth said, worship services, worship service gatherings, spiritual communities, what we hold there as a practice of spirituality, then we go home and we also put that into practice. So for my work in the International Unity Worldwide Ministries Earth Care that I've been about for many years now, I have felt that change of consciousness happens in the way that we bring in creation into our worship. So Advent happened to be really an easy one for me to start with because of Rudolf Steiner's work and the Waldorf schools. Every Sunday of Advent, 4 Sundays, a different scientific kingdom is held up. It doesn't mean you're not lighting a candle for faith and hope and peace and all good things. It doesn't mean you're not sharing biblical stories that are mythologically potent for interpretation metaphysically. But that each one basically emphasizes this. The first Sunday, mineral kingdom. There is no Jesus. There is no Nona Brooks. There is no you and me without the earth and the mineral kingdom.
Yeah.
Second Sunday, the plant kingdom. Okay. There is no you and me, Jesus, nobody Expression of Christ consciousness without plants. Third Sunday, the animal kingdom. All right. Well, we are classified as animals, aren't we? We humans. So we want to honor, though, all the creatures because they are helping us in a major way. So we honor them. And then the fourth Sunday, I call it the humanity. And we lift up humanity, including Jesus and the great teachers. And then all of that is in place that we can be aware of Christ consciousness. But Teilhard de Chardin said, we have not birthed cosmic Christ consciousness yet. And he understood that all of creation is a part of this birthing of what we call Christ consciousness. So to not be conscious of it and partnering with it and learning from it, we are missing that opportunity today, not that it won't happen in the future. So this webinar is to encourage practices that come into our homes, with our children, into our ministries. And it's very simple, but it's very unique, and it's hugely potent and revolutionizes, I feel, something that we've held up for years as Advent or any of the faith traditions that have their season of lights, right?
Yeah.
Hanukkah.
That's excellent. Yeah, Diwali. That's excellent. I just spent about 5 days earlier in the week with a Jesuit, a former Jesuit. He's an Anglican priest now, and where we found discussion ground was Chardin. Like New Thought, that's where New Thought and traditional, like that's a good place to meet.
Yeah.
And so Chardin is a great way to talk to people who don't know what we're about, because there are mystics in the the mainline tradition that were us, but nobody knew. Maybe they didn't even know. But Chardin was a great way to bridge that gap. You know what? We are so close to time. The hour always I can't stand how fast the time goes. Time's an illusion anyway, but this illusion goes very quickly. So we're going to take one more break. We'll come back with our great guest and Reverend Joy, finish this up and all that sort of thing. But right now, what I want you to remember is this is Divine Science Everywhere on the New Thought Media Network.
Well, welcome back. Before we close today, I'd like to mention Reverend Kathy's website. It's Kathy Harwood Long, her name.com, and you can find more information about the work that she does.
Thank you.
Yes, and thank you for joining us today. And thank my co-host, Reverend Jeff Radcliff and Bishop Durrell Watkins, and our producer, Bishop Robert Griffin. So thank you so much, all of
And
you.
our unofficial mascot, Princess Lily Rose.
Princess Lily Rose!
All right. Well, we have some exciting things coming up, and next week we will be discussing among us divine science principles and teachings. So please do join us. And until next week, remember that this is Divine Science Everywhere and on New Thought Media Network. And see you next week. Remember to like and share. Thank you. Bye-bye.